Hey there. Let's talk about culture and emotion for just a few minutes. Um, Hot topic, I guess. Rather misunderstood unless you're taking this course, I suppose. So let's see how culture affects emotion. Has a pretty powerful effect, actually. We talk about culture specific and culture general. Culture general is stuff that's shared across cultures. Culture specific means exactly what it says. Whatever we're talking about is specific just to that culture. So you run into a problem when you talk about emotion, and the problem you run into is that emotions seem to be universal. Everybody feels happiness, sadness, anger, etc., fear, love, whatever it is. But when you dig into it, you find that culture shapes that emotion. And sometimes it's kind of weird the way it does that. So let's talk quickly about universal emotions versus cultural display rules. I'll give you an example or two in a minute. Universal emotions. Uh, there's a psychologist well known, Paul Ekman, and he identified six basic emotions. And these emotions are recognized across all cultures, so universal, right? Happiness, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, and disgust. Uh, they exist everywhere. But here's the biggie: how you show them is shaped by culture. So, for example, in East Asian cultures, people are taught to suppress negative emotions in public because that helps to maintain group harmony. Why is that? Well, it's a collectivist culture. In Western cultures like here, the USA, we kind of value emotional expression and we gauge that as authenticity. Uh, these are called display rules, cultural norms that dictate when, how, and to whom we show emotions. So let's say you're Japanese, uh, or you're Japanese compared to an American or vice versa. Both can feel anger, but as an American, you would express it more openly, while a Japanese person might tend to hide that. I'll tell you a place that you can, if you want to, I don't know if you, well, it's kind of an odd example, but it's very, very easy to detect if you're trained in this. Watching a baseball game, uh, and being a psychologist, I look at things that you probably don't even consider. And I watch the Japanese pitchers and the Japanese batters, and compare those to the American emotional displays, and it's very evident that there's a difference in culture. You don't see too much in the way of a disgusted look on a Japanese batter's face when there's a ball or a strike called, depending on whether it's the pitcher or the batter. The bottom line to all that is simply this: you can read their faces, and you don't see the emotional expression with disgust on a missed call, for example, as you do on an American player's face. It's pretty interesting stuff. Japan and America, I don't know how that will compare to Germany. German culture tends to be a more stoic culture, but I don't think that you would find a difference in between an American and a native German, when it comes to facial expression about various emotions. Um, and let's talk about this individualism and collectivism very quickly. Now that I've mentioned it, these are guidelines. Individualistic cultures, USA, Canada, Western Europe, People are encouraged to express their personal feelings and needs. Emotion is basically looked at as a reflection of the self. In a collectivist culture, like Japan, China, Korea, collectivist cultures emphasize the group over the individual. So what you're doing as an individual needs to be something that's going to help everybody. And emotions are managed in ways that protect relationships and maintain group harmony, because that's what they're all about. One person does well in your village, it's shared with everyone else. Very simplistic definition of that, but gets to the point. So the culture context affects not only how people express emotions, but how they interpret emotions in other people. Excuse me. This also affects language. Language reflects emotions across all cultures. And then some emotions don't even exist in other languages. In German, there's a word, I don't know if I'll pronounce it correctly. Maybe if you're German or you have a German background, you can laugh at me if you'd like. Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude describes the feeling of pleasure at someone else's misfortune. So go, he fell down or whatever. But English doesn't have a direct equivalent to that. So that's a word, that's a culture-specific thing. Filipino word, gigil, or giggle, I don't speak Filipino. It refers to an overwhelming feeling when you want to pinch or squeeze something because it's cute. And again, we don't have a direct translation into English for that. I've been in the Philippines a lot, and I've never ever encountered that I can remember. But there again, just an illustration. So it's just an illustration of how cultures prioritize different emotional experiences. It might be a big thing in the Philippines to go pinch somebody because they're cute, I don't know, or pinch their pet animal, whatever the case is. Emotions are not just biological. They're culturally constructed. They are biological in a sense, but they're also culturally constructed through language. And what does it matter? Well, you need to understand the link between culture and emotion. Why? Because it improves cross-cultural communication. That's important here at CU, because we got a lot of cultures here. It's really so cool. I love it. It helps to avoid misunderstandings. And then it can help you be more empathetic to other people. So the understanding of different cultures, making sure that you eliminate ethnocentricity, which is a superiority feeling toward a different culture, and classifying that other culture as inferior because they do something different than what you do and what you're used to or whatever. So to wrap it up, emotions, they're universal, but their expression and interpretation are shaped by culture. So there's the specific part. Cultural norms, display rules. What's a display rule? In Japan, if you smile, you hide your teeth. It's rude to show your teeth when you smile. That's a display rule. Display rules and values related to individualism and collectivism guide how we feel. They guide how we express. They guide how we understand emotion. Language is even affected by that, as you've seen. And that way you can recognize, if you understand these things, you recognize and understand that what you're seeing you may be interpreting it wrong. And sometimes it's not a bad idea to pleasantly ask, what do you mean by that? Understanding the culture behind it. So there you go, a quick little snippet of culture and emotion. Hope you learned something. See you around.